You're watching buzztvcanada. You're watching buzztvcanada.
He didn't return that night. I walked along the beach in the morning, as I'm sure he must have, coming out of the nightmares he spoke of, back into the daylight. I drove into town later. It was hot already. I saw an art gallery and I thought they might know my father. The art dealer was blind. Her fingers moved like a pale spider over my face.
Joseph Lang? Do I know who he is? We do get magazines in Point Dume, which some of us can even read.
Well, I meant I'm looking for him. And I thought maybe you knew him personally.
Point Dume isn't an artist colony. I heard he did take people out there, mostly women, but they weren't from Point Dume. There were some people in this morning looking for your father, which means some people do like his brand of art.
Who were they?
I don't know. Strangers. I think they're staying at the Seven Seas.
I'm as old as the hills. Mama delivered me herself. She took me from between her legs. Bloody little mess. Just about to feed me to the chickens. And Daddy said, maybe we could use a boy, Lottie. That's how I came into the world.
Excuse me. They said at the gallery that you were looking for Joseph Lang. He's my father, and I just...
Just come in and close the door.
All I want to know is if you knew...
Close the door. Go ahead, Charlie.
It's hard to remember back on things, but I remember the red moon my daddy told me about, only once. Mama gave him a bad look when he talked about it. He was only a boy himself then. He called it the blood moon. He said that was the night that he lost religion. He learned that men could do horrible things. Like animals.
I'm really hungry. I've got the munchies.
Shut up. Go ahead, Charlie. What about the moon?
100 years ago, the moon started turning red up in the sky and things began to happen. It was like the red of the moon got up there, the closer the people were being jerked toward hell. Why, the people started bleeding out of control. They found children eating raw meat. It was like the town was festering with an open sore until the night that they came down out of the canyon. And
who came down, Charlie?
gotta go.
Charlie. Take the wine, Charlie.
Well, thanks for your kindly hospitality.
I'm looking for my father. Do you know him?
I know of him.
They told me at the gallery.
We drove by the gallery this morning. I happened to see how this works in the window. I didn't know that he lived here.
They didn't have any of his paintings there.
Well, that's popularity. Because they did this morning. I offered to buy one, and the old woman said they weren't for sale. As a matter of fact, it was a portrait of you.
Tom likes to collect things.
Like old trunks.
Old-fashioned retort.
What's a retort?
Tony, you're half girl, half child, and half wit.
Sit on it, sister.
Don't be afraid. I'm an ugly old man, but I'm harmless. It's about your daddy. He mustn't hear me. I got him fooled. I get drunk, sleep on the sidewalk like a dog, and he let me be. I ain't crazy. Not old Charlie.
What about my father?
You have to kill him.
You're crazy.
You can't bury him. Don't put him in the ground. You gotta burn him. You gotta put fire to his body.
I spent the afternoon asking about my father. The reaction was always the same. People would only stare or shake their heads and back away.
July 6th. Our Letty called this morning. I listened to her, but couldn't let her know I was here. My voice would have terrified her. At times, I make noises which don't seem human, and my mind is letting go. I try to remember the past, my daughter, but I can't. Instead, I think of death. Always death.
What are you doing here?
It's so comfortable, I didn't want to wake you. You're very pretty when you sleep.
I'm going to take a nap. Want to come?
Later.
But you can't stay here.
Just for the night. I'm willing to pay. We had a little trouble at the motel. You remember the old gentleman who was telling us the story?
Of course I do. He was mad.
Perhaps. But when they found him this afternoon, he was dead. The police police came and questioned us. Needless to say, they weren't very understanding, what with me and my 2 traveling companions. And then suddenly, every other motel locked and shuttered its windows. You're the only other person we know.
What happened to the old man?
They found his body in the alley. He must have passed out or something. The police theorized that it must have been dogs. Well, they found his body half-eaten.
I let them stay. I never understood why. It was as if I'd come into a foreign town where I didn't speak the language and was sharing a house with people I'd have never met in my other life.
Would you like some more?
Yes, thank you. Wind is strange.
It's like the Sirocco. It blows across the Mediterranean from Africa. I was born in Portugal, in a castle.
I thought it was a villa in Spain.
My mother was a Portuguese, aristocrat. My father was rich and American. I have a castle that stands above the sea. One of our legends tells us...
Tom, what are we doing in this shitty place?
I don't know, really. As I was saying, every race has their legends. The Romans, the Greeks, even the folk here in Point Dune had their stories. I'm interested in their story about the blood moon. What was your father doing here?
He didn't know anybody here. He could paint.
Has your father been painting long?
Laura's quite the art critic. She used to model. Photographers mostly. She specialized in exotic poses with snakes.
Oh, Tom just gets so clever when he's trying to get into somebody's pants. Listen, when you go to bed with him tonight, why don't you let him?
Laura, I am tired of having to apologize for you.
Yuck! This stuff is shitty tasting. You're not supposed to eat the fuzz.
He said he was a collector of old legends. He thought my father knew something of the legend of Point Dune. I told him my father wasn't here. He said they could wait.